Students, and welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian, and I'm streaming to you live from beautiful Budapest. I hope everybody is having a fantastic day so far, a great Friday. Today we are looking at task 1. Can everybody hear me okay? Just gonna double check my connection here. All right, let's try that one more time. Can you see me? Can you hear me okay? Unfortunately, I don't seem to be able to see myself. Hi, Jessica Run. Roshni, Pachu. Can you see me? Can you hear me? Let's try that one more time. Right. There we go. Yeah, okay. Stream looks good now. Okay. All right, so welcome students to today's live IELTS class. Today we're looking at an IELTS Task 1 line graph. I will go through the example with you and discuss a bit of strategy as we work through it. Again, students, these materials, this lesson is brought to you by aehelp.com for the academic version of the IELTS. Check us out there. Join the premium package, learn the right strategies, watch videos, do practice exams. For general IELTS, check us out at gieltshelp.com. That's generalieltshelp.com. And again, on both of those websites right now, you can still use our Black Friday discount code to save 40%. BLKF Day. Use that during the checkout. The websites look like this. This is the academic one with the blue background. Click that big red button to join the premium package, get all of our goodies. And this is the general one here with the green background. Click that big red button there. Lemur, if you're going to sit the academic IELTS, then make sure to join us on this website. This task 1, this line graph, is for the academic IELTS. So if any students who are watching are for the general version of the exam, your task 1 is different. It's letter writing. You can find examples of that on our website and videos for that on the website as well. Okay. And if you have questions about our products, then just send me an email, adrian@aehelp.com. I'll be happy to answer any of your questions. Hi, Eugene. Love the panda cat combo. Always gets my mood up. All right, students. So again, this task 1 today. Tomorrow, we will have Q&A for members, questions and answers, and then speaking part 2 for everyone. Let's take a look at today's question. Let's get right into it. Here we go. I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for asking, Eugene. All right, so here we go. IELTS Task 1 Writing. You should spend about 20 minutes on this task. I didn't put that into the question, but it's always there, and you definitely want to practice spending just 20 minutes on this task. So you should spend about 20 minutes on this task. Okay? No more. A little bit less if you are confident and you want more time for task 2. Here we go. The following graph shows the number of views for a news program at different times in the day. Describe the main features and make comparisons where relevant. You should write at least 150 words. That means a minimum 150 words. Thank you, Abid. This is a dress shirt, not a t-shirt. T-shirt's short sleeve, no collar. Okay. All right. Let's take a look at the graph. Here we go. Fits the screen nicely. So it's Channel 1 News viewing figures. We have 4 lines. that we can identify by colors. In the official exam, they'll be probably dotted, dashed, segmented, double lines because they don't use color in the paper-based exam. And then here we have our y-axis. Y-axis shows the views from 1 to 5 million. So it's millions of views per day. Okay, so it's millions of views per day, and it's 0 to 5 million per day. And on the y-axis, we have the months of the year, January, February, March, all the way to December. And then a little bit more here in parentheses. It's an important little note. It says, the 11 p.m. news was introduced on the 1st of May. Okay, so that's the green line of the 11 p.m. news. There we have it. Okay. All right. Hassan says, it looks like a fierce battle is going on among these lines. I agree with you, Hassan. It does look like that. So our job is to make sense of it and write a quality essay. And in order to do that, what should we do first? So what do we want to do first when looking at this essay to write for a nice high band, like a band 9, let's say? What do we do? Tell me, what should I do? Violet Nguyen says, read what they ask us to do. We already read that, Violet Nguyen. I'm not sure if you missed that. So we did read the question. Okay. Roshni says, paraphrase the question and add some details. So let's start our overview, right? Let's just start writing. The first paragraph is our overview. The overview has 2 parts. Okay. And I keep reminding all of our past and present viewers about this. So 2 parts for the overview. The overview is the introduction. Again, so many times students ask me, do I need an overview and an introduction? No, the overview is the introduction for this expository essay. So you don't have to analyze yet. You can leave the analysis for the next step. So just hold off on that. So for now, just paraphrase the question, add details. That's part 1. Okay, so that's your first part of your overview. And then the second part of your overview is to describe the main feature. Okay, what you can clearly see without really looking at the data. So let's do that. Paraphrase this question for me, viewers, and give me some more details. I'm going to do the same. I want to give you a little bit of a head start. So paraphrase, give it details, use your own words, use third person. It's an expository essay, meaning it seeks to explain, reveal, expose, explain information. Okay, that's an expository essay. If you're not sure, you never heard that word before, expository essay, I highly recommend looking that up online a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to paraphrase too to kick off this essay. So So the line graph illustrates the number of viewers right. So here we go. Let's see what some of you have. Juka Kadam says the given line graph makes a comparison about the number of opinions for a news program published at various times in the day. It's not number of opinions, Juka. You have nice writing, but it's not number of opinions. It's number of views, okay, or number of viewers, okay. Awaz says the following line graph represents the number of programs which are shown at different times in the day. You don't need to paraphrase, Awaz, the second part of the question for the overview, just the main part, okay? All right. Let's see. We have some more coming up. Sue Shine says the given delineates the number of views. Sue, the given what? It's the given line graph. You have to name the subject, okay, in your sentence. Hushnamo says the provided line graph informs about the number of viewers of news in 4 different hours during the day in a given year. Hushnamo, be really careful with your grammar and your word order. It's quite confusing as you've represented it. I corrected in real time, so take note of that. Roshni says the line graph presents the statistics about the quantity of spectators for a news program at 4 different times in the day, not time zones, Roshni. Time zones is different. Time zones is what we have on planet Earth, like Central European time, Eastern European time, Pacific Standard Time. So those are the time zones, Roshni, okay? Greenwich time and so on. So it's not time zones, it's just different times. Abhi says, the given line graph provides information about the number of viewers for a news program published at 4 different times in the day. Be specific, students. If you know it's 4 different times, we have 4 different times, then say it's at 4 different times during the day. You can even say at 1 p.m., 6 p.m., 9:30, and 11 p.m. So you can even name the times. So be clear, okay? Preeti says the line graph depicts the number of, not opinions. I'm not sure where everybody is getting the idea of opinions. Opinions is not, oh, because you're using probably a thesaurus to translate views, but that's different. So you're thinking about viewpoint, like a perspective, as an opinion. Yeah, this definition of views is not the same as what you're thinking. So views has different definitions. A viewpoint means an opinion or a perspective, but we're not talking about a viewpoint here. We're simply talking about the number of actual watchers, okay? Just like in this live stream. So don't confuse those, okay? It's not opinions. It's a different meaning here. It's a big awkward mistake, all right? All right, Hassan says, the given line graph shows the number of Channel 1 viewers for news programs divided into 4 categories depending on the time of day. Hassan, a better way to finish there, okay? All right, so here I have this line graph illustrates the number of viewers who watch Channel 1 News at 4 different times throughout the day from January to December. And then I can write a little bit more, so I can say the daily viewers are the number of daily viewers, or the quantity, since I've already used the word number up here. I want to avoid repetition. So the quantity of daily viewers are shown on the y-axis from 0 to 5 million, and the broadcast times are 1, 6, 9:30, and 11 p.m. Okay? So that would be a very clear paraphrase and detailed description of the question. All right? And that's my part one. So again, remember the overview, students, is anywhere from 2 to 3, sometimes 4 sentences. So, but I like to say between 2 and 3 sentences for length. So keep that in mind, okay? If you're writing more than 3 sentences, you should be really careful. You might want to join a couple of those sentences together to have more complexity, or you might be writing information that belongs to the body paragraph and not the overview. Okay. All right, I'm not done yet. I need to discuss the most observable feature. Okay, so when I look at this line graph, what is the most observable feature? So what jumps out at you? What can you catch at first glance? Okay. So what do you see right away without having to go into detailed numbers? So just by looking at the overall graph, what can you summarize? What can you conclude about this picture? So Hassan made an interesting mention at the beginning of class. It looks like these lines are battling with each other. Okay. Roshni, both 1 and 11 p.m. viewers decrease. This is the 1 p.m. I think 1 p.m. is quite steady throughout the year. And I think that's too much detail. Okay. Happy Singh says 6 p.m. is the most popular, but not really. Here in August, it's the 11 p.m. that's more popular. So overall, perhaps. Okay. What do you notice? Okay, keep it simple, students. You're going into too much detail, and if you start your essay with a lot of detail, it's going to lack structure, and it won't be that clear. Okay? So Yagnesh says the 1 p.m. Viewers remain the same throughout the year. That's observable, okay? So sure, we can kind of see that. And what else do we see? So the 1 p.m. views, or the number of 1 p.m. viewers, is fairly consistent throughout the year. And all of the other times fluctuate quite a bit, right, Roshni? So that's what Roshni's saying. So Roshni says they all fluctuate. But that's not accurate either, because these 3 times fluctuate, the 6 p.m., 9:30, and 11 p.m., while the 1 p.m. stays relatively consistent. Okay, that's the most observable feature. So looking at this, it's clear that the 1 p.m. is consistent, and these other ones fluctuate or show variance throughout the year. Right? So that would be your most observable feature. When I'm looking at this, my eye catches this interesting battle of the lines, as Hassan aptly described, and this one here that's just quietly staying out of the fight. It's like neutral territory. This is Switzerland, right? And then here we have all of the other big boys fighting it out. Okay. So let's write a sentence that describes that main feature. Okay. And then we can get into deeper analysis, all right? But for the overview, just focus on what you can visually see from the actual picture without looking at numbers and into too much detail. So, at first glance, Okay, again, practice keeping your language simple. Okay. Navi, a zigzag trend is true for the 6 o'clock news, I think, but not for the other ones. And that's not the most notable. That's detail. Okay, you're looking at just one line and the trend of one line. So be really careful, Navi. Okay. So Sushine says, overall, what stands out in the graph is that 1 p.m. views are stable throughout the year while the others fluctuate. So Sushine, not bad, just finish your sentence, okay? Because you're only describing part of the main feature. So the stable 1 p.m. view is part of the main feature. This is clearly another very important part of this main feature. In fact, this whole area here is very important. So you need to do both, okay? All right? Don't just focus on this one, especially because this is the least number of views, so it's the least popular time in the day, this 1 p.m. time, okay? Yeah, so Hassan, very good. So Hassan says, overall, it is clear that the number of viewers fluctuate with the exception of the 1 p.m. time slot. Okay? Again, Hassan, simplify. Students, English doesn't have to be super complex to be clear and high level. Right? Keep that in mind. So overall, it is clear that the number of viewers fluctuate, comma, with the exception of the 1 p.m. time slot. Okay, Hassan? All right. Daniel Tarasov says, at first glance, it's observable that there are fluctuations except the 1 p.m. news. Again, Danielle, same idea as Hassan, but even more so. So simplify. Don't overstate yourself, okay? Sarah Atef says 6 p.m. broadcast gained the highest number of views. That will be, Sarah Atef, the next sentence likely for the analysis. Let's do that now. So now we have our overview and now we can write our analysis. So again, this line graph illustrates the number of viewers who watch Channel 1 News at 4 different times throughout the day from January to December. The quantity of daily viewers shown on the y-axis is from the quantity of daily viewers is shown on the y-axis from 0 to 5 million, and the broadcast times are 1, 6, 9:30, and 11 p.m. At first glance, it is clear that the amount of 1 p.m. views is fairly consistent throughout the year, while views fluctuate for the other 3 times. All right, a few different ways to do that or write that, but the idea should be similar, okay? Now, our next step, as one of our viewers suggested earlier, is to analyze the actual line graph. So what's the most logical way to describe this line graph? Okay, what would be your first description? Sukraj Singh, at first glance, I would use that at the overview, okay? Because the overview is what you see at first glance, the main feature, okay? So what's my logical approach here? Which feature or which part of the graph, which data should I discuss first? What makes sense? What do you think? The highest views are in January, so you're thinking about the months. When you learn mathematics, students, and you learn statistics, these are called variables, okay? Variables because they can change, all right? So the axis here, the y-axis and the x-axis are also called variables, Okay. Variable means it can change. And of course, that simply states that January to February, February to March, you have changing months. Okay. To do well on the academic IELTS task 1, you should have basic knowledge of graphs and charts and basic statistics. Okay. It's really tricky to get a good band score on task 1 without that knowledge. So I would definitely recommend spending some hours on that if you don't have that, okay? So this is called a variable. This is called a variable as well, the y-axis and the x-axis, okay? But my question here is many of you probably know, okay, yeah, I know that's a variable. Those are the variables. So we have 3 variables here, right? We have the variables of time for the channel 1 news. We have the variable of months. We have the variable of the millions of views. There's an adjective that comes here to describe these variables more accurately. And bear with me here, students. There's logic to my, my explanation here. You'll understand why in just a moment. I'm explaining this to you. And these variables also have an adjective to describe them. Those adjectives, hint, hint, are also used in grammar for language. Anybody know what these variables are actually called? So what kind of variables? What's the adjective that goes there? What's the adjective that goes here? So what kinds of variables are they? And you'll understand here in a moment why it's important to understand this, to write a good essay. Okay, when you figure it out, I'm sure a couple of our viewers are going, oh, I learned about that. Okay, it's not horizontal, it's not coordinates. All right, it's different. Not interval, not vertical, Roshni. Okay. Keep thinking, keep guessing. Maybe some of you are Googling it right now. Good luck on your exam tomorrow. Just stay relaxed, stay focused. Danielle, you're close, but not quite. Okay. So it's called your dependent and independent variables. Okay, so these are your independent variables. And these are your dependent variables. Now, you're probably going, Adrian, why are you telling me that? So why do I need to know that these are independent variables and these are dependent variables? Okay. Or is it reverse? Anyway, the reason why is because your y-axis and your x-axis are fixed. Okay, these are not changing. So January, February, March, April, May, June, July, those are the months. They come after each other. They're sequential. It's the same for you. It's the same for me. It's the same for everyone. Okay. The reason why you don't need to remember dependent and independent variables, okay? We're not going to get into complicated statistics here or anything like that. But the reason why I'm telling you this is because these variables, okay? Actually, I'm pretty sure I've confused you and myself. These are the dependent variables. These are the independent variables. So these are the dependent variables because these variables depend on the months and the millions of views, okay? These ones are independent. They don't need these other variables. The reason I'm showing you this is because when you're deciding how to write your line graph, it's easier to start from these dependent variables and think about these instead of thinking about your dependent variables. So instead of thinking about your months. Some of you are saying, let's talk about in January the number of views. Let's talk about February the number of views. But I would say that especially when you're looking at this line graph where you have this battle of the lines, it's probably easier to, not probably, it is easier to start with the actual dependent variables. So first, describe this line here. So describe the 6 p.m. news. Why? Because overall, it has the most views throughout the year. Then second, I would describe this line here, the 9:30 p.m. news, because it's the second highest. It starts in January, ends in December as the second highest. Then third, I would discuss the 11 p.m. news, the changes, these points here, the rapid declines. And then fourth, I would describe the 1 p.m. news. That's going to be much easier than going month by month and trying to describe what's happening in each of these times throughout the year. Does that make sense? Okay, does that make sense what I'm telling you there? Amaresh, you're asking, what if I use less vocabulary? Lexical resource is important, so if you use less vocabulary, Amaresh, you will likely get a lower mark. Okay. All right, so again, go with your dependent variables. So the times in the year, you don't need to use the vocabulary dependent variables, although you should know the word variables. What's key here is that you should look at this when you're analyzing and not so much this for this instance. Okay, so let's do that together. Let's first describe the 6 p.m. news. Okay, so write 1 or 2 sentences which describes this 6 p.m. news. In January, it's close to 5 million views daily. Okay, and then this trend where you have this up and down, it's called a fluctuation. Okay, by December, you have just over 3 million views. Okay, almost 5, just over 3. So there's an overall trend for this line as well. Okay, I've given you all the information. You just now need to put that together. All right, so write the 1 or 2 sentences for the 6 o'clock news. You have a bit of a head start while I clean up the board here, and then I'll catch up to you. I'll write a couple sentences also. So here we have 4 lines, 4 components to describe, and we'll probably end up with about 8 or 9 sentences. Sushine, I didn't see your question, and it's out of my chat field now, so you'll have to restate it, and hopefully I'll catch it. Okay, so everybody focus, write that first one there, the 6 p.m., okay? So now it's the analysis. That's the second paragraph, okay, or the analyses for plural. All right, let's see what you have. So Hassan says, it is clear that the 6 p.m. viewers decrease throughout the period, starting at 5 million views in January and ending at nearly 3 million viewers by December. Okay, Hassan, not 4 million. Careful. It's 3 million. otherwise, it's good, Hassan. So a couple of slight mistakes. Keep working on those. Check my corrections. Okay. Sweta says at the start of the year in January, 6 p.m. Has the highest views around 5 million, and the rest of the year it fluctuates. In December, it reaches around 3.5 million. Sweta, not too bad. Okay, not too bad. I don't reaches is usually when we're going up. So NA says, when the data is analyzed in detail, it can be seen that the 6 p.m. news starts with the highest number of viewership, around 5 million, and then observes an up and down pattern, ending with a decreased viewership of around 3.5 million. Very nice writing, NA. Very, very nice writing. Almost flawless, okay? That's easily a band 8.5 level writing there, NA. It's good. Vijay Kumar says, it is lucid that 6 p.m. news commenced from the pinnacle and faced considerable fluctuations towards a plunge throughout the period, approximately 3 million views. Vijay, even though you're using some interesting vocabulary, you would be scoring around band 5, maybe 5.5 for that description, because it's awkward and those words aren't used naturally. Students, remember that if you're using vocabulary, even if it's high-level vocabulary, unnaturally or inaccurately, it's actually hurting your mark, and you're better off using simpler words. Keep that in mind, okay? Happy Singh says, firstly, it is clear that the time of the 6 p.m. news fluctuates from nearly 5 million views in January with a decrease to 3.5 million views by December. Happy Singh, nice. You've kept it quite concise and clear. It's good. Okay, that would be around a band 6 level writing composition at a glance. Roshni says, when observing the bar chart in more detail, careful, Roshni, it's not a bar chart, it's a line graph. You immediately would lose points for coherence. It becomes obvious that there's an incredible surge of the 6 p.m. news. Surge means a spike, Roshni. It means that there's a sudden increase. We don't see that with the 6 p.m. news. Okay? So there's a high number of viewers at 5 million in January. However, this figure oscillates. Very nice use of the word oscillate, Roshni. Yeah, oscillating and fluctuating are synonymous. So good. Okay. All right. Nice. Here is my description for that line. Okay. Looking at the data in more detail, it is clear to see that the 6 p.m. news is the most popular overall. Okay. In January, it receives nearly 5 million views each day. Then the views fluctuate throughout the year with a gradual overall decline, reaching just over 3 million views by December. Same concept as I was explaining last class, students. So you can start qualitatively and then go quantitative, right? So it's the most popular overall. How most popular? 5 million views each day in January, over 3.5 in December. All right, so now we get into the next one, the 9:30 p.m., which is 9:30. Okay, so there's different ways to state that. And we have a very interesting trend here. There's a slight increase until about May. And then during May, from May to August, there's a sharp decrease. And then we have a sharp increase from August to September, and then a gradual increase until December. Now, you might not want to write all of those points, but definitely a couple to keep in mind that are important are these transitions here. Okay, so focus on those and write a good description. All right, so write a nice sentence describing these. Students, if I didn't catch your first one, don't worry, keep writing. I'll catch different students at different times. Remember, try to write fluently, quickly, as time is of the essence in the IELTS exam. All right, so I'm going to write my analysis of this line here, the 9:30 p.m. news. Okay, it starts at just over 3 million, reaches nearly 4 million, plummets to almost 1 million, and then climbs back up to 3 million. Okay. All right, so there is my discussion of that trend. Okay. So in contrast, the 9:30 p.m. news shows a gradual increase from January to May between 3 and 4 million, then a sudden plummet to just 1 million views by August, and thereafter climbing back up to 3 million by December instead of in December. By shows continuity as a preposition, so by December. All right. Let's see what some of you have. So Awaz says it is clear that the highest viewership of the 9:30 p.m. is found in May. The lowest viewership is in August. After August, it starts to pick up viewership. And he says the second most popular start time with a little more than 3 million viewers is at 9:30 p.m., which sees a gradual increase until around May. After that, it plummets in August to just 1 million, and then again ascends to end around 3 million in December. Not bad, any. I had to add and remove a few words, so make sure to review my corrections. Okay. Nasima Bogteb says the second most popular time for viewing is 9:30 p.m., which steadily increases from 3 million in January to 4 in May, then dramatically plummets to just 1 million. I wouldn't mix in the 11 o'clock news. I would keep the 11 o'clock news very, very much exclusive at this point, because that's very different from these other two. So let's describe that on its own. Okay. But some nice writing there, students. Some nice writing there. Okay. Vijay Kumar says, in contrast, 9:30 news rose steadily from 3 to 4 million before declining significantly to just 1 million and then again climbing back up. Climbing back up is a nice expression when a trend recovers from a downward plummet. Okay. All right. Keep going, students. So now we can describe the 11 p.m. news. The 11 p.m. news starts in May. It says here in the parentheses, 11 p.m. news is introduced in May. Okay, so the 11 p.m. news is introduced in May. It surpasses definitely a good word to use here. So it surpasses the 1 p.m., the 9:30 p.m., and even the 6 p.m. news from May to August. And in August, it's a little over 4 million. And then following after August, it starts this rapid decline, falling below the other times all the way till December. Okay, so use some of the language that I just introduced to you and describe the 11 p.m. news. Okay, use this piece of information. Anytime you see an annotation like this, some additive information, make sure to use that in your writing to enhance your score. Okay. All right. So there we go, describing that one. So after the introduction of the 11 p.m. news, this time slot gained rapid popularity, quickly surpassing the other 3 times over the following 3 months, becoming the most watched in August at just over 4 million views. Immediately following, its popularity rapidly declined, and by December, it became the least watched at just under 1 million views per day. Now, that's your Band 9 level writing, just so you have a point of comparison. There are easier ways to write this, and you can still get exceptional band scores, 7, 8, 8.5, okay? So, we have some responses coming up here. Happy Singh says, the 11 p.m. time. Very good, students. Lots of students writing. Great. So Happy Singh says, the 11 p.m. time is introduced in May. It surpasses the other 4 time slots with over 4 million viewers, and then declines quickly to just below 1 million by December. Happy Singh, the word coincidentally, it's kind of like saying accidentally. So it's happening by accident, unexpected. Coincidentally is not correct in this context. So you can't use coincidental in this context. Okay. All right. Hassan says the most noticeable figure is the 11 p.m. news, which embarks in May at 100,000 views. After that, it spikes to more than 4 million by August and then plummets to less than 1 million by December. Yeah, Hassan, that's good too. So you're not describing the 11 p.m. news surpassing the other time zones, but you are describing the trend accurately. And that's another way to approach it. More than one way to skin the cat, as they say, as the idiom goes. Okay, so that's good. All right. White Jane says the 11 p.m. news noticed a sharp increase from May to July, reaching over 4 million viewers. After that, it decreased quickly. White Jane, avoid we, so don't bring person pronouns into task 1. We, you, I, us. It's not good. Keep it purely objective, so purely third person. No we, no us. Also, students, avoid question markers in statements. So avoid words like how or what or where. These question markers, avoid them in your sentences. Where, which for adjective clauses, okay, fine. But the how and the why, be careful, okay? All right, and then if you still have some time and you really want to discuss the 1 p.m. news, you already mentioned, we already did that in the overview, but let's say that I'm a very high-level Band 9 student, I have lots of time, so I'm going to allocate one more sentence to this 1 p.m. news. Then I can state this steady 1.3 roughly million views per day throughout the year. So finally, there we go. Finally, the 1 p.m. News retains approximately 1.3 million viewers daily throughout the year. Okay, now if you are a super duper 5 gold star IELTS candidate, then you will include a summary as well, and you will say something like, to sum up, this line graph indicates that people's viewing preferences of Channel 1 news changes throughout the year for we have 6, 9:30, 11. It's your evening hours, okay, for the evening hours, but remains consistent in the early afternoon. Okay, so that would be your summary. All right, that's what you can summarize after you've done all of this analysis. Now, I just kind of spat that out nice and quick. Of course, that comes with practice, but you can do that. Okay. Somebody's saying something's contracted. All right. Okay, let's read the whole essay. It should make more sense. I'll post it on the channel as well. Let's go from the top. So this line graph illustrates the number of viewers who watch Channel 1 News at 4 different times throughout the day from January to December. The quantity of daily viewers is shown on the y-axis from 0 to 5 million, and the broadcast times are 1, 6, 9:30, and 11 p.m. At first glance, it is clear that the amount of views, the amount of 1 p.m. views is fairly consistent throughout the year, while views fluctuate for the other 3 times. Looking at the data in more detail, it is clear to see that the 6 p.m. news is the most popular overall. In January, starting with the time expression, always follow that with a comma. it receives nearly 5 million views each day. Then the views fluctuate throughout the year with a gradual overall decline reaching just over 3 million views by December. In contrast, the 9:30 p.m. news shows a gradual increase from January to May between 3 and 4 million, then a sudden plummet to just 1 million views by August, and thereafter climbing back up to 3 million by December. After the introduction of the 11 p.m. news, this time slot gained rapid popularity, quickly surpassing the other 3 times over the following 3 months, becoming the most watched in August at just over 4 million views. Immediately following, its popularity rapidly declined, and by December, it became the least watched at under 1 million views per day. Finally, the 1 p.m. news retains approximately 1.3 million viewers daily throughout the year. To sum up, this line graph indicates that people's viewing preferences of Channel 1 news changes throughout the year for the evening hours, but remains consistent in the early afternoon. That's your Band 9 essay. It's roughly 220 words. Of course, it's going to be a little bit more than 150. Students, I will post this on the channel with the line graph, so you will see it on the channel description or the channel community board. And again, make sure to check us out at aehelp.com for academic IELTS. Lots of example essays, practice exams, interactive courses, videos. GIELTShelp.com for general. To join the premium package, use our Black Friday discount to get 40% off. BLKF Day. That's it for this class. Again, remember that really important tip I gave you. When you have such variance in your line graph, it's good to look at the dependent variables and not the independent variables, okay? So keep that in mind. All right, everyone, have a fantastic rest of your Friday. Sweet dreams. If it's late in your country, get a good night's rest and wake up energized for a fun weekend. Bye for now. Much love to all of you.